one thing that is very important to this discussion, because it's very important to healthcare reform, which was, as we all know, Ted Kennedy's, as he put it, the cause of his life, right? And that's who's going to replace him. Now, here's a little bit of irony. In Massachusetts, the Democrats passed a law saying that if a senator is to be replaced, that you need to hold a special election 145 days after the person needs to be replaced, and that the people decided, not the governor. Now, why did they do that? One, I think it makes sense. I don't like it that the governors just get to randomly pick who's going to be the next senator. It's not very democratic. That happened a lot recently because Joe Biden, Barack Obama, et cetera, when they moved to the White House, they had to be replaced. We had obviously dramatic issues in Illinois with who Blagojevich was going to pick. And it's just not the right way to do things, if you ask me. In fact, Senator Feingold has put together a bill, a bipartisan bill, a truly bipartisan one, that says that we should do special elections nationwide anytime a senator needs to be replaced. Now, I agree with that. And apparently Democrats agree with that, and that's part of the reason that they passed it in Massachusetts. But let's keep it real. The other reason they passed it is because John Kerry was running for president in 2004, and if he had won, he would need to be replaced, and the governor at the time of Massachusetts was William Weld, a Republican. So the Democratic legislature was like, we got a better idea. Instead of the Republican appointing the senator, why don't we have a special election? Now, that was hunky-dory back then. But now, because of the bill the Democrats passed, it would mean that we wouldn't get a new senator from Massachusetts until January of next year. Now, we want to get health care reform done within this year, right? I mean, some people are talking about deadlines for bipartisan compromise of September 15th. Certainly the legislation going through the Senate and the House by the end of the year. And Ted Kennedy would have been the 60th vote. I mean, it could not be more relevant. And it could not have come at a worse time in some ways. Now, for other political reasons, you can make an argument that it's come at an interesting time that might be helpful to this cause that Ted Kennedy cared so much about. We'll talk about that a little later. But now the Democrats are in a pickle because all of a sudden they're like, now that we got a Democratic governor, it'd be nice to appoint someone right away. So what are they going to do about it? Well, the idea is that they might pass a new law. Okay, now if they pass a law saying, hey, you know what, we changed our mind. We're going to go back to having the governor appoint the senators, that's too much. No. Even under these circumstances where we desperately need that 60th vote, I would say no, that's not the right way to go. But they've come up with a compromise that I can live with. Now, again, in this case, I happen to agree kind of with what the Democrats are saying about health care reform, so it's easy for me to agree. Understand, where I'm coming from in my perspective. But look, let's see if it makes sense to you. They say the governor can appoint someone until they have the special election. But now if you appoint someone in that time period, they're going to have an enormous advantage if they run in that special election because they're already the senator from Massachusetts. And that's not really fair, and I agree that that's not fair. So what they're saying is appoint someone that promises that he definitely will not run when the special election comes up. So you have a senator until the special election, you have a fair election 145 days from now, and then you have the new senator from Massachusetts. I think that's a compromise that makes a lot of sense. And you know what? Even if they had a Republican governor, now I would hate to have another Republican in the Senate in those 145 days, but it's a plan that's sensible, right? Because you do need a senator from the state. I mean, look at what happened with Coleman and Frank. And now, of course, that's a different situation, but they didn't have a senator for 6 months. Now, they were figuring out who won, so they wouldn't have been an appointment in the interim anyway. But as a general principle, I think I'm comfortable with this. Now, as to who should it be, a guy who's pretty much done with politics, so will not run again in that special election or other ones coming up for the Senate of Massachusetts, and a fairly well-known Democrat? I got an idea. Mike Dukakis. Come on. Too easy. Too easy. Let's move on. I'll put Dukakis in there for 145 days. Oh, will he take the position? Come on. He'd love that position. He'd be like, oh, yes, right? I'm back in charge. Well, not in charge, but having fun, back in the saddle, right? And it makes sense. He's done with politics, and he's a respected Democrat from that state. Come on, let's shake on it. Come on. Let's make it happen. Now, they got to pass a new law, then Deval Patrick has to pick someone, and then there's a whole bunch of politics as to who's going to actually run 145 days later. But that's a different issue. So that is what I view to be my just resolution of this issue. So now that you all know in Massachusetts, I assume it's done and we can move forward. Am I not merciful? Am I not merciful? Just handing out these just solutions.